For the first time in many, many months, we are doing a Gold Standard podcast with an actual regular season football game to preview. How much is Juwan Jennings going to play? Which receivers at all are going to play? And why Brock Purdy and the Niners should be ready to hand Seattle a giant spoonful of revenge. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera alongside Levin Black. Levin, it's Thursday and it's game week.
Yes, it is game eve because we get NFL Thursday night. But it is this is like the point where I start getting like, all right, do I want to get my hopes up or not? You know what I mean?
Come on, we're ready to be.
I am always going to be scarred by that like 2003 to 2010 era.
We're ready to be heard again. And why shouldn't we be? It has been a long off season, and we are ready to just have a different feel to this season. And we're going to get into that. We'll get into what Kyle Shanahan said today. We'll get into the game itself, and then I want to get into just sort of some bigger picture things that I want to see out of the team this season, you know, regardless of any specific game or anything, because there's a couple of sort of overarching themes that I want to touch on. But I'm just happy as all get out that we have an actual game to preview, 11. And this is like a double revenge game for the 49ers because the Seahawks, that Seahawks game at Levi's last year where Geno runs it in with like, what was it, 20 seconds left in the game? That was a dagger in the heart for us last year. And Sam Darnold's coming to town and he cooked us with the Vikings last year. So we got some payback to dish out.
It's the first relevant 49ers game in 10 months because you mentioned it's a long off season, not just because it was an off season, but because for the first time since probably 2018, the Niners were clearly toasted in like late November. You know what I mean? Like off season started in November. Like Thanksgiving was all right. Off season started. Now it's just who's going to be around next year. What do we see?
I like this tweet, this comment from Bo Adams. It's cooled down to 97 degrees in Vegas. It's football weather. That is just absolutely insane. Everybody in the comments is pumped up. Chris, Mr. 49er, Luis Aguilar is pumped up. Bo Adams is ready to roll. I love it. Thank you, everybody, for the comments. Keep them coming. We'll get to as many questions as possible. But yeah, I want to see this little winning streak. You know, the Niners very quietly have won 3 straight games in Seattle, which is something that for a long time we didn't even win 1 straight game in Seattle. If they win on Sunday, the Niners will be only the 3rd team ever to win 4 straight road games in Seattle. One was the Chargers of the, I want to say, 90s, the late 90s or the early 90s, and then the Raiders in the early 70s, I believe, are the 2 teams that have ever won 4 straight road games in Seattle.
And it's not Quest Stadium anymore. Put it that way. They changed the name, and the Niners can suddenly win.
Hope I had that right. I may have reversed it. I'm trying to check it really quick, but
it would make sense for the Chargers in the early 90s because that's when they had the Super Bowl run.
And they were in the same division. Didn't they used to be in the same division back in the day? Because the Seahawks used to be in the AFC.
Yeah, and I mean, the Saints used to be in the 40. Like, I'm old enough to remember as a 40-year-old man that the Saints used to be a division rivalry up until like the early 2000s.
Yes. Okay. No, I'm sorry. It was the Raiders in the early from 90 to 94. They won 5, and the Chargers in 77 to 80 won 4. So I don't know if I had that reversed, but I got it right now, finally. But yeah, like this hasn't been as much of a house of horrors as people think. Kyle Shanahan today was asked by Matt Barrows, like, hey, you know, you got a lot of new guys, a lot of young guys. You're going into Seattle, noisy environment, and then you got to go into New Orleans in week 2, another noisy environment. And Kyle said that they have been preparing for this for 2 weeks, that since last week, they've been preparing for the crowd noise. So, like, they acknowledge it. They understand it. We'll see how they actually handle it on Sunday. But I thought that was interesting.
So to speak, they have exorcised the demons.
Well, the noise thing, I think, is a real thing. Look, I saw a
It's
stat.
early enough in the season that it will be noisy in the Superdome week 2. Later in the season, probably not so much.
Yeah, but I mean, in Seattle, it's going to be noisy.
Yeah.
I think it was Eric Branch. I want to give proper credit, but pointed out that 23 of the 53 guys on this roster are in their first year with the team, whether that's rookies, whether that's just new guys. That's a lot of new. That's a lot of people that have to be on the same page that haven't had a lot of time. And let's be honest, Levin, some of them, like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, has been here for a week. Like, you got to be on your P's and Q's and lined up in the right spot and know when you got to shift and motion and stuff. And if you're off on any of that, it's going to be really hard for Brock to communicate that to you in that kind of crazy noise.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit more of an issue on defense. I was just reading ESPN's little what is the strength of the team, what is the weakness of the team, and the strength was the continuity with the offense. That they essentially have 11 guys coming back that started at least 2 games, and I think the average amount of starts amongst the starters on offense is 11. So they got a lot of, and I'm talking about just last year, 11 starts. So they essentially have their starting lineup back. And I know they lost one lineman, but the guy that's going to be replacing, they have plenty of experience. The defense, however, they made the point that as many as 6 players could be starting their first game in their career early in the season on defense, depending on who gets to play and whether things happen where they have to go to somebody else. That is a lot.
Absolutely, it is. And that's part of the reason why week 1 is such a weird week, right? Like, I brought this up on the Pro Football Insider's NFL show that we're starting this week. Jake Moody was 8 for 8 in kicks in week 1 last year. He made 6 field goals and 2 extra points. He was perfect in week 1 when they beat the Jets. And then he went on to miss 10 field goals in less than 17 games. So week 1 gets a little wonky.
Moody was a fantasy winner in week 1 and a fantasy killer pretty much the rest of the season.
And a real life killer. Not that he murdered anybody, just murdered the 49ers playoff chances.
He kind of did. I mean, that was one of the points made in that same article, that the Niners were 2-6 in 1-score games last year. If they fall back to the median, that's 2 more wins. I mean, I do think that there'd be a little bit more of a narrative change if the Niners are coming off an 8-9 season. And as that same, I think that one was a Williamson article on ESPN. It mentioned that in terms of starts lost, meaning people who would have started the game that were injured, the Niners were worst in the league. Like, there were teams that had more injuries, like the Tennessee Titans, but in terms of actual starters lost, projected starters, the Niners were worst in the league, and yet with just average luck, they're an 8-9 team.
I feel like we say that a lot with the 49ers. If they had just been average in this area, if they had just been average in that area, and unfortunately, they weren't in a lot of areas last year, which is why they were such a below average team with just 6 wins on the season. So, yeah, there's a lot that has to go right for them this year. Access Granted says it's not going to be as loud in Seattle with as many Niner fans that are going to the game. If you listen to today's 49ers in 5, and I know you didn't, Levin, but if there are some people out there that listen to 49ers in 5 to get everything they needed to know about the team in 5 minutes or less.
Troy Clarity probably did.
He better have, baby. I definitely did that on purpose, too. I told him about it, hoping to gain one more listener. Oh, I'm going to get him. One listener at a time, baby. If I got to go door to door to tell people about the pod, I will, damn it. But according to Vivid Seats, 53% of the tickets sold are to Niner fans. So think about that. Like, this is Seattle, this is hell for the 49ers in terms of crowd noise. And if you could have the majority of fans, which obviously 53% is, that would be incredible by the faithful.
I mean, can we just throw it out there that if they win, they have a majority of the crowd, and it's their 4th straight win there. We already have a Levi's South. Would that not be a Levi's North?
Not bad. At some point, maybe they want to rename it. But look, they tortured us for years, for Russell Wilson's whole career. It was a torture chamber for us. We owe them a couple more wins. So let's keep this thing going. Let's not worry about it, all right? As John Wallace says, we travel huge, red and gold. Bo Adams says Niners lost 6 one-score games with the worst special teams and the 29th ranked scoring defense. It all works together, right? It's not just one thing. It's not all Brock Purdy. It's not all the defense. It's not all the special teams. It's the combination that leads to lost years like last year.
And then you have a team like, I don't know, the Kansas City Chiefs that set the record for most one-score wins. I think they were 11-0 last season in one-score games.
You know, I was thinking about that today, and I'm going to say something that sounds dumb, and maybe you're going to say it's dumb, but
it's not out of character, that's for sure.
I walked right into that one. The 49ers and the Chiefs last year, in a lot of ways, were the same team. And I know that sounds really dumb because the Niners went 16-11 and the Chiefs went 15-2. But how many times when the Niners won last year did it feel like a loss? Were we like, yeah, they won, but they didn't really look good? Yeah, but the Chiefs said that about a lot of their wins. They had a lot of one-score wins. The difference was the Chiefs actually won the games, but it was the same feeling that they would take away from those games as even the 49ers would in their wins. I think that all the stuff that we said about the 49ers playing deep into the playoffs and the wear and tear and the extra practice time and the physical nature of the playoff games had an effect on the Chiefs too. They were just able to finally, or I shouldn't say finally, but they were able to overcome that and get it done and close out games in the end, and the 49ers weren't.
Yeah, when you have Patrick Mahomes, it's a huge benefit. I mean, say what you will about how much he's fallen off, and I've seen plenty of QB rankings this year where he's not even top 3. When it comes to clutch time, he's still there. That's why they made the Super Bowl. That's why they won so many of the close games, or all of the close games, as was the case last year. But the previous year, I think they were like 10-2 in one-score games. I mean, they're basically a team that's tired, and they try to turn it on in the fourth quarter. And most of the time it works out because they have Patrick Mahomes. That's what the Chiefs are. They're a weird team. They are literally in the middle of a dynasty that you wouldn't be surprised if they missed the playoffs at the same time because of how the last 2 years have been, where despite making the Super Bowl in one year and winning the Super Bowl in the other year, almost every game you're going, God, this team does not look good. Yep. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not going to be surprised if they miss the playoffs, but I'm also not going to be surprised if they go 17-0. Like, they have the capability because of Patrick Mahomes, but I also think his supporting cast is terrible. And I think that their GM may need to be replaced because I don't think they've done a good job in the last 5 years of filling out that roster to help Patrick Mahomes.
Breaking news, Levin. This isn't a Chiefs podcast.
Blah, blah, blah.
It had to be done. We're going to have plenty more to say about the Seahawks and this matchup. But first, a word from Sleeper. And look, if you've watched this show this week, you've seen the Sleeper integration that we have. We're thrilled to have Sleeper on board. I feel like because you and I are the original Gold Standard podcast, that nothing is totally official until I do it with you on the show, Levin. So
yeah, you need me. I get it.
Okay, I didn't really go that far, but we are very grateful for Sleeper to have them come on board. If you're not using Sleeper for your fantasy football, you are missing out. You can turn your football knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, which you can see on the screen right now. The ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. The thing I like the best about it is just how easy it is to use. And there's a reason I pull it up here. You have your categories at the top. You can go NFL for the week that you want. Or if you want to go season long, you just click NFL season and it's right there. But you go to NFL, you scroll over to wherever your game is, which I believe they're arranged by time. There's Seattle, San Francisco. You hit the button and all the picks come right up. And it's any stat category that you could possibly want. That's why I like it. Some of the numbers that jump out to me, Christian McCaffrey, anytime touchdown, 0.5. Christian McCaffrey has not scored a touchdown in a very long time for the 49ers, 11. I think he's going to be itching to get back into the end zone.
I mean, the last time he was healthy, he was guaranteed to score 1, and it was a question of does he get 2, 3, or 4 touchdowns? So that is, to me, very, very safe.
So you download the Sleeper app, you pick more or less on 2 or more of your favorite players. Christian McCaffrey is a favorite of mine this week in this game particularly. Sam Darnold would be another one because I'm taking more than 0.5 interceptions for Sam Darnold. So you just push more or less depending on, who you're going and where you're going for. There's the interceptions. I scrolled over. Sam Darnold. Bam. You hit more again. You can check out your entry. You can check out you put your amount there and you're off and running. It is really that simple. It takes 2 seconds. That's what I like more about it, is just how easy it is to use. And I'd never used it before. So this is all new to me. So I feel like I can accurately reflect the experience and use our promo code. That's the big thing. Use our promo code GSP. It'll help the pot out. And you get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Now, terms and conditions apply. So see Sleeper's terms of use for details. It's currently operational in over 25 states. So check out Sleeper today. I'm so glad I did. We're so grateful they are here with us on the pod. They'll be here with us all season, all through the playoffs. So thank you again, Sleeper. And check it out and use our promo code GSP. Now let's get back to little Seahawks preview here, 11, because Kyle spoke today and he said a couple of interesting things. First, he did not hide it or sugarcoat it. Jauan Jennings is playing. He hasn't practiced in 5 weeks until this week, but Jauan Jennings is playing. Your thoughts?
Fine by me. I mean, he's needed, for one. For two, how many practices did he miss and then playing the games in previous years? I mean, the guy is banged up, even though he ends up getting through and playing the games. There's been probably more weeks than not that he's been on the injury list to where he's limited.
I think what this may do is this may revert Jauan Jennings back to the role that he had, quite frankly, in 2023. Jauan Jennings was not getting, 8-10 targets a game in 2023. He was a slot receiver that came in on third downs. He would run his package of plays. He would contribute when he could, which was not that frequently. I think he had like 19 catches all year that year. And the rest of the offense just did their thing. So I think with this long layoff for Jauan Jennings, I think his role in this game might be very similar to what we saw in 2023.
I think it'll probably be bigger. I mean, they do need him. I think certainly later in the season, he's going to see a diminished role, which is part of why it makes no sense to pay him. But I really like the wide receiver core if they stay healthy and you get Brandon Ayuk and you get Robinson back from the suspension. Like, this is Jennings' time to shine. Because in 3 weeks, I think Robinson will probably become a second starter with Pearsall, and you're going to see a diminished role. And then when Ayuk comes back, maybe the very next week, 1 week later from Robinson, you might see Jennings getting like 15 total snaps and 1 to 3 targets a game. That's why I think he's pushing so hard to get paid, because he knows, like, you look at this roster and you're like, there's not a whole lot to go around for Jennings. Jennings is not going to put up 975 yards again. There's just no way for him to get there, barring like 4 injuries in front of him.
No chance. I completely agree. And he knows it. And everyone is aware of what's going on in this scenario too. So they're going to want Jauan out on the field. But I thought it was interesting. Kyle was like, yeah, he's going to play. And then in the same press conference, he was asked, hey, do you know who your starting safeties are? And he said, yes. And then refused to reveal who they were going to be. So he had no problem saying Jauan was going to play. He wouldn't say which safeties were going to play, or at least which safeties were going to start. He was asked earlier today, I should say, does this game have a little more oomph as a week 1 game because it's a divisional game?
Any oomph or excitement to open against a division rival?
I guess a little. I mean, usually when it's all said and done, the division games count more. But to me, the ump's always there for the first game anyways. You just got to think about it all week, and you just wait till the first kickoff, then you kind of feel normal once that happens. There's always unknowns with both teams, whether it's a division opponent or not. You always feel that way until the ball's kicked, and then you feel pretty normal again.
You guys were pretty clear when you got.
So Kyle didn't really seem to put that much emphasis on it, but there's a big emphasis on it from me, Levin. They won 1 game in the division last year. There's emphasis.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance to make a statement that this is not last year right out of the bat.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't win this game, it's not that it makes a statement going the other way, but it raises the question. Hey, is this the same as last year where they're going to kind of crap the bed at the end or make the one critical mistake on special teams that means they can't win the game? I don't know. My main takeaway from that, and shocker, it's nothing that he said, because that's how I am, is he needs to wear a hat every press conference because he looks 80 years old when he does not wear a hat. I think you see the weathering on his face a lot more without that. But two, I ask you, do you think that hat is purposeful?
I didn't really notice what.
It's the hat that had the winning streak that became the thing.
Is the Shanahan? I
Yeah.
thought the Shanahan was red.
Well, it's the one that has just a small little logo in the front.
Yeah.
He's wearing one again. And I don't think he's worn that this offseason. So I do wonder if that's a regular season thing that he's going to wear that until they lose.
Well, I remember calling for like, bring back the Shanahan, like as a little subtle thing that he could have done. And I don't think he ever did. Any advantage that they can get this year, Lemon, I'm here for. They're wearing their white jerseys until week 10. They're not going to wear a red jersey until week 10 this year.
And that's sad because I don't like the white jerseys.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't like the white jerseys specifically. As white jerseys go, it's a good jersey. But white jerseys just suck in general because they're boring.
I like some white jerseys, but their road.
When you buy a Niners jersey, do you buy a white one?
No.
Exactly.
But I would buy the white 94 throwback over the red 94 throwback.
That one's a little different. I don't know what it is about that white 94, because I agree. That is the one white jersey that I would like to own. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why it's the white one. I don't know if like maybe they played that in a game that's just burned into my memory and that's why, and I don't truly remember the game now, so I can't place it or what it is, but the white 94 looks better than the red 94, and that's the only white jersey that's better. I will say this. I would say there's a pretty good chance I end up with the retro jersey this year. Or not the retro, the throwback. I told you I liked the black jerseys from a couple of years ago. Not a couple at this point, it's a decade. This is an improvement.
We're old.
This is an improvement. I don't care for the helmet. I feel like they could have done better with the helmet, but the black jersey with the gold outline on the numbers is phenomenal. I think the helmet, it's not got enough gold. I wish the helmet, that is just a phenomenal jersey. Like, I would be fine with that becoming like a main jersey, but the helmet is all black. And I think it's that the logo is red. And I feel like they could have done the logo in gold with a red outline to give a little bit more gold theme into it.
I think that the rivalry jerseys are growing on me. I saw somebody online made a version of them, but white instead of black, and they look unbelievable, gorgeous, and beautiful. But enough jersey talk, Levin. We got an.
Come on, that's Niners related.
We have an actual football to break.
You're such a wet blanket.
Dare you? Let's talk about actual football against Seattle. Kyle Shanahan was asked what makes Mike Macdonald such a good defensive play caller.
Play calling to a degree. To me, it's just how he runs his whole scheme. I mean, they got a threat of everything. I mean, it's a sound defense and how it starts out. Real hard to get big plays on. When you say he's sound and hard to get plays on, that usually sounds real conservative, which it is in those areas, but they also know how to put pressure on you. He does a good job calling his blitzes. He times them out right, does good ones to stop the run, good ones to stop the pass, and is a Rolodex of coverages, so it's always hard to get a beat.
I was doing my research before the show. Seattle's defense was 3rd in pressure rate last year, 8th in sacks, and they allowed just 6.9 yards per pass attempt, which was top 10 in the NFL. It was actually 9th. I've been hearing a lot of hype about the Seahawks defense, and the Niners are going to have to be on it this week for sure.
They just need to be on it. Right? Like, we don't need a repeat of last year. I don't want to see week 1, the offense that I saw last year, which was, hey, here's a bunch of yards that result in nothing. That's what they were. That's why they were, what were they, 21st in points scored, like 22 points per game, despite being in the red zone as much as any team in the league. Like, they need to finish drives. That is the number one thing I am looking for in week 1. Like, seeing the defense is number 2, but the number one thing I'm looking for in week 1 is, can they finish their drives with a touchdown? And even more than that, to add on to it, can they finish it without Christian McCaffrey finishing it? Because 2 years ago, that's how they finished. 23 drives was Christian McCaffrey scoring the touchdown. Can they finish it in other ways? Can they get George Kittle the touchdown? Can they, you know what I mean? Or is it just, all right, they can get to the red zone and then it's CMC has to score the touchdown?
I don't care if CMC has to score all the touchdowns. I know what you're saying, but at this point, like, just get in. I'm tired of seeing.
I'm not going to be unhappy to see CMC
Right.
score. I just want to see, as this team evolved, has Purdy brought them above what they were 2 years ago, which was CMC finish it for us.
Speaking of that, Josh Dubois has the tweet. Christian McCaffrey's 158 yards per scrimmage per game against the Seahawks are the fourth most for any player against a single opponent since at least 1948, trailing only Clinton Portis against the Chiefs, Walter Payton against the Saints, and Marshall Faulk against the Falcons. So McCaffrey is the ultimate Seahawk killer. This should be the healthiest Christian McCaffrey is not only this season, but since 2023. So it should be a healthy prime CMC day on Sunday.
That actually brings a tear to my eye, because I would have thought Frank Gore was pretty high on that list, considering he had 200-yard games against the Seahawks. And those are games very much burned into my memory. So it's cool. I wonder, are all of those Niner games, or did some of them come with Carolina?
The Christian McCaffrey, you have to have played the Seahawks at least 5 times in order to qualify for the stat. He's been with the Niners, since 2022? I don't know how many times he's played them, and I don't know how many. Yeah, so I don't know. Some of those might include Carolina, but regardless, he kills the Seahawks, and I want him to do it again on Sunday because he's their best option, like you said, to finish drives. It's him by like a country mile. So if that's what it takes to get them in the end zone instead of settling for field goals, whatever. But you're right. Even in the Brock Purdy drive this preseason, what did we see? They drove right down the field. Ricky Pearsall was catching the ball. Boom, boom, boom. Great. Got to the red zone. Stall. Like, we can't have that.
Yeah. Like we have argued this and talked about this many times over the years. It is probably the biggest negative Kyle Shanahan has, because it has followed him in most of his stops. So at this point, you have to believe it's something to do with Kyle Shanahan, where when he doesn't have that space to work with to make the defense guess, that for some reason he just can't figure it out. And I want to see if – I don't have much hope that Kyle Shanahan can figure it out. I want to see if Purdy can figure it out. Can he make adjustments? Can he pick the right play amongst the two that he gets? Or can he just do Purdy magic, in the red zone to finish the deal and elevate the team to the new level?
And honestly, some of the touchdowns they got in the red zone last year and with Purdy have not been because of Kyle's particular play call. It has been Purdy extending plays, making, ad-libbing, scramble drill type thing. Purdy runs around, finds George Kittle in the back corner of the end zone. Or, the one play where Purdy ran around, I think it was against Washington. He ran around for like 3 minutes. And almost hit Ayuk. It did hit Ayuk. Ayuk dropped it in the back of the end. But even on some of the touchdowns they get that aren't McCaffrey, it's not because of the play call necessarily. It's just because of Brock doing Brock things. And I'm all for that, especially when he gets into that 15-yard zone. Brock running for the touchdown. Yes, that is a weapon. Use that frequently. Get that in the heads of defensive coordinators, because that'll only open up other things for the Niners and make it easier for them to score if he starts doing it.
Yeah, and I think that is the blueprint that you're looking for in a quarterback. Somebody that executes the offense, but then when it breaks down, can ad-lib and just create something out of nothing. I feel like that is the blueprint, even though a lot of the best quarterbacks in NFL history are not that. There are people that are so good at reading a defense that they know exactly what to do pre-snap. Like Tom Brady didn't make magic happen. He was just so darn good at being able to figure out what the defense was doing and beating it. And if he couldn't, getting rid of it before it turned into a major negative play. Same with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning didn't make magic happen. Peyton Manning was so good at timing his offense and reading the defense and then changing the hot route to be something that would beat that defense in pre-snap that he was unbeatable. those are the best quarterbacks in league history. That's not the blueprint though, because if you find one of those, good job. You don't really deserve credit. You got lucky. But the blueprint is somebody that's good enough at executing and takes what the defense gives them and then elevates by ad-libbing when the play call is not the right one.
Red zone is one of the key areas to watch going into the game. I don't want to see Jake Moody out there for 6 field goal attempts. I'll get into that a little bit more later, but I expect a healthy dose of Christian McCaffrey. I expect a healthy dose of George Kittle. Like, I don't really care how many snaps Jawan Jennings is going to be out there, because to me, it should be CMC, Kittle, and Pearsall. First, second, and third. Like, that should be the order. And Jawan Jennings could catch his 3 passes. Great, whatever. I don't care if it's Jawan. I don't care if it's Russell Gage or MVS or whatever. Whoever catches those passes. The bulk of the offense should come from 85, 23, and 1.
Yeah. You know what I would love to see, and I don't know that they've had enough time, but maybe they'll develop it later in the season. I would love to see, like, not necessarily a red zone, but more like inside the 5, a goal line type of formation where Brian Robinson is more of a fullback. Maybe you do pro set, but more of a fullback to where you can motion and mess around with Christian McCaffrey and move him wherever you want, to where maybe he's going to run a route and it's a pass play, but you still have a really good, especially a good power runner there, capable of running it right up the gut into the end zone. Like, I would love to see that, because I don't think you can beat that. You know what I mean? Like, if you are motioning Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield, you're going to spread that defense out. And I think Brian Robinson is a good enough in between the tackle runner that if the defense adjusts to Christian McCaffrey moving out and the box is not loaded, they're going to easily score running up the middle. And if they keep the box loaded, now you got somewhere that there's a hot route where it's an easy touchdown.
What if you have Christian McCaffrey and Robinson in the backfield, right? Then you motion Christian McCaffrey out into the slot. Then you snap the ball. You quick fake like a screen to McCaffrey, and then you hand it off to Robinson on the draw, something like that. Because McCaffrey has so much gravity that he's going to attract people. I think there are things you can do to get creative in the red zone part of the field. Or, you know what? Maybe the 49ers just score a bunch of plays from 60 yards out. I'd be cool with that too.
Yeah, who's going to do that though? Like, think about it. Who is the player on this offense? I think what the one thing this offense is missing. Ricky Pearsall is not going to rip off too many 60-plus yard touchdowns, because he doesn't have that breakaway speed where once he's behind a defense, nobody's going to catch him. You're not going to get that out of Kittle these days either, I don't think. Early in his career, yeah, you had that a couple times, but I don't think you're going to see these massive touchdowns by Kittle. He can be caught these days. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey. That's not his forte. He's going to be caught down the field. Like, who is it that has that? All right, once they're in the open field, good luck.
Well, I mean, if you're just looking at the 49ers roster, I think Pearsall, people think Pearsall is slow. He ran a 4.4 flat. Like, that's not slow. But people don't.
There's a difference between getting caught in the open field, because in the open field, it's all about top end speed. How fast can you get up to? Deebo Samuel was routinely in the top 10 for the highest speed reached in the season by a ball carrier. That's why he didn't get caught once he was in the open field. I don't see somebody getting into the top 10 unless, you could say Isaac Guerrero, but you're talking about a third string running back.
Guerrero has that type of speed. Unfortunately, he can't seem to translate that on the field as much as we'd like to think. MVS certainly can, but he can't catch.
Right. Like the guys that have that ability are not even secondary. They're third tier guys in this offense. Like Valdez-Scantling. Same with Cowing, what I would assume has that breakaway speed. That's why he had such a good 40-10. But like, you're talking about like third stringers at best with Guerrero, and down to 4th, 5th, 6th wide receivers.
The other guy that has it, who has even a faster time than Jacob Cowing, is Jordan Watkins, who Shanahan kind of admitted was going to have a big role early for this team. Unfortunately, now he's got the high ankle. So he's probably not going to be back to week 2, week 3, around there, maybe week 4, who knows. But he was a guy, I think he certainly would have that breakaway speed. And obviously we're going to have to wait a little while to actually see it. But I want to see if Pearsall does have it. Maybe not like the absolute burner speed, but I think he's going to be a source of big plays for this team. I keep saying I think Pearsall can have the year that Brandon Ayuk had in 2023, that kind of 17, 18 yards per catch type of year.
It is certainly possible that he has that. Which, by the way, now that you bring it up, that reminds me, I had a phenomenal bit of trivia that I stumbled into because I was looking up that Brandon Ayuk season in terms of yards per target.
Okay.
And that season is, I think, 5th best all time amongst people that had at least 60 catches. Do you know who number 1 is on that list? So most yards per target with at least 60 catches.
I don't. Who is it?
John Taylor.
Oh, our old friend, John Taylor.
He had an insane, it's one of his 1,000-yard seasons. He had what was it? I think 63 catches on like 75 targets and 1,000 yards.
Big play guy. Had that one game again. I think it was against the Rams where he had the 290-yard touchdown catch and runs. Like Jerry Rice said, if he had more of a work ethic, he could have been every bit as good as he was because he was a freak athlete. I actually saw some highlights of his the other day, and my first thought when I watched him, because I haven't seen John Taylor highlights in a while, was, God, he kind of reminds me of Debo out there, like the way his body type was and just the way he looked when he ran. I was like, damn, it kind of reminds me of old Debo. Of course, we don't have to worry about that this season. Let's flip it over to the other side of the ball, Levin. Defensively, how are the 49ers going to attack Seattle? How worried are you about Sam Darnold and the Seahawks offense?
I think the best strategy against Sam Darnold is get in his face because he panics. If Sam Darnold can sit back there, all right, yeah, then some of his throws do look like Steve Young because he does have a pretty good arm and he throws a pretty ball. But if you pressure him, he falls apart. That's been his MO. So get after him. I don't care if you got to send 5, occasionally send 6. Do not let him have time. Get after him. And I want to see Huff emerge. I want to see Williams show why he was taken so early. And I want to see Nick Bosa look like the Nick Bosa from, it's going to be 3 years ago now.
They never made Sam Darnold uncomfortable last year when they played the Vikings. It was just infuriating. They never got pressure on him. He was dropping back there, going right to his first or second read, bing, bang, boom, picking the Niners apart, 90-yard touchdown passes. Like, it was no problem for Darnold. And I was screaming at the TV, like, what are we doing? Get pressure on this man. And they never did. And he kicked their ass. But, Levin, in doing my research, I have some things that may make you smile. Let me just read off some facts and figures about the Seahawks offensive line, okay? In pressure rate, they were 30th. In pressure given up without a blitz, they were 30th. In false start penalties, they were 31st. Run block win rate, 28th. Holding penalties, 28th. Pass block win rate, 21st. And sack rate, 24th. They were not a very good offensive line. Now, they have Josh Jones. They drafted Gray Zabel, so they're hoping it's better, but they have a lot of work to do along that offensive line. And Sam Darnold last year got a ton of time to throw with the Vikings. 45% of Sam Darnold's dropbacks lasted 3 seconds or more. That was number 1 by a mile. So he's holding on to the football, but the Vikings were able to protect him. Well, guess what? The Seahawks are not going to be able to protect Sam Darnold like Minnesota did. And oh, by the way, 29% of Darnold's incompletions last year, 29%, almost a third, were due to pressure. So guess what he's going to get more of in Seattle than Minnesota? Pressure. So there is a very real path for the 49ers to disrupt Sam Darnold in a way that they could not do last year at all.
It's why I think Geno Smith might be a better quarterback than we thought. Whether or not that ends up proving true or not, that's a Vegas thing. But for the Seahawks, you're telling me there's a quarterback out there that really struggles and turns the ball over at an alarming rate when pressured, and the team with probably the worst pass blocking O-line signed him in the offseason to be their starter?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sound like a very good marriage.
Wedge Antilles says our defense is going to be huge this year. We'll be able to actually close out and win games because of them. Filthy Casual says Seahawks fans are making a big deal about a new O-line coach and a new offensive coordinator. Okay. Who are the players? Are the players mostly the same or are the players mostly different? That's what I care about more than anything. They're going to be able to get to him. And like you said, they're going to bring confusing looks. They're not just going to rush 4 and cross their fingers like they did so many times last year. They're going to actually pressure the man and bring 5 and 6 and bring corners and safeties and, dare I say, multiple linebackers. So they are not just going to hope. They're going to have a plan, and I think they're going to be effective in executing it.
I sure hope so. I do not want to start the season off with a loss. I want hope and positivity to start the year. You know what I mean? Even if it ends up being, a 9-8 disappointing season like last year, and I know I've said this before, but last year was a season where I never got excited. I had bad feelings going into the season, and they were proved right away. I saw the things I was worried about right away in week 1, and it was just a season where I sat there going, is this over yet? Right from the start. I want some excitement. I want some being proud. You know what I mean? Like last year, I don't think there was any moment where I put on that Niners jersey and I was puffing out my chest like, yeah, we had a good week. I'm going to wear this going to work and rub it in everybody's face. I never had that.
For me, and I don't want to speak for you, I'll let you speak for yourself. As dangerous as that can be sometimes. We talked about it earlier in the show, how even last year during wins, it was like they won, but you never had just a feel-good week because it was, they won, but Christian McCaffrey's out all of a sudden and we have no idea for how long. Or they won, they beat Tampa Bay, but Jake Moody missed all those kicks and they're fighting on the sideline. This year, there will be no they won, but for me. It's just, did they win? Yes or no? Because the whole Super Bowl aspiration, it's all over with. That's all gone. To me, this year is survive and advance. 10 wins, more than likely, most years gets you to the playoffs in the NFC. In any well, maybe not the AFC because it's ridiculously hard, but in the NFC, 10 wins get you to the playoffs. However they have to scratch and claw to get those 10 wins is just fine by me. So there will be no, they won, but I'm not really happy. It's going to be, they won. That's going to be the instant reaction show.
I will hold you to that because I know how you are, and I know there'll be some ugly wins, and I know you will not be in that mood.
I will be. This year, I will be. Last year, previous years, maybe I wasn't, but this year, by hook or by crook, survive in advance. That's it. There will be no they won, but they won, be happy, especially because down the stretch last year, what'd they lose? 6 of their last 7 or something like that last year? It's just been a long time since we've seen a freaking win.
Yeah. For Christmas last year, the players got the off season.
Right.
It was a season that I mean, you weren't quite as far into it as I was, but I was definitely down in the dumps from the Super Bowl and I just don't see how it improves. And then I didn't like the omens, and then the season started where they were still in it, and there were little bits of sparkle where you saw that old team and you're like, maybe, and then it would get dashed right away by either a Jake Moody kick or something else. And then by mid-season, it was this team is toasted. It is rebuild time.
For me, there's no expectation that they have to live up to. They're not chasing any ghosts this year. They can be their own team, their own selves. So
there's only one expectation. Purdy has to look good because he got paid. That's the one person I think has a very clear, they have to meet this certain standard. I don't think Kittle has you have to have 1,000-yard season. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody has those crazy expectations other than Purdy just got paid. He needs to look like the franchise quarterback.
Your quarterback always has to play well for you to be successful, but the contract will enter into it for Purdy this year. But there's 3 sort of things that I want to see if we zoom out here and talk about just themes for the overall season, because Vish touched on this on Monday and I hadn't given it a lot of thought, and I thought about it since then. The three things they have to do: protect the damn football, number one, with a bullet. Number two, close out games in the fourth quarter. And number three, treat Jake Moody like Jake Moody and not like he's Robbie Gould or any average NFL kicker. And I can dive into each one of these. For the protect the football thing, it's pretty simple. They turned the ball over 27 times last year. That was sixth most in the NFL. Some of it was on Brock. Some of it was on the 11 fumbles that they lost. You have to take care of the football. What did Singletary say, Levin? We are not a charity. We cannot give them the game. They have to protect the football, number one. That led to so many of their problems and so many of their fourth quarter collapses.
You're not wrong. See how I worked it in there? Had to get it in. Hadn't been there yet in this episode. But no, the turnovers were like the unspoken problem.
Oh,
And I think it didn't get the attention that it deserved because of special teams.
right.
You know what I mean? It was like every game we came out and said those damn special teams again. You know, and almost every instant reaction we were going, how has the special teams coordinator not been fired yet? You know what I mean? We were calling for him to get fired in like week 4. And they kept making critical errors every single game. I thought that was going to be one of the things they can't do, by the way, to have special teams decide the fate of the game. Well, they don't need to win it, and they don't need to lose it. Just don't decide the dang fate of the game.
That I was going to get into that with my Moody with point number 3, and I'll get there in a minute. The closing out games in the fourth quarter. The 49ers were outscored by 77 points in the fourth quarter last year. That's an average of 4.5 points a game. And, you know, when it comes to Brock and the offense, they scored only an average of 5.2 points a game in the fourth quarter. That is not going to cut it. You can't get a lead in the third quarter and then just sort of try to hold on tight and ride it out to the end of the game. You have to keep on scoring in the fourth quarter, and your defense has to stop the other team from scoring. They couldn't close last year to save their life. Now, I talked about this in the preseason. They did close out a couple of games in the preseason. I know it's different. I get all the caveats, but I saw them perform in the fourth quarter, specifically on defense and special teams in the preseason, in a way that they hadn't in a really long time. I'm hoping they can carry that over to the regular season. They have to carry it over to the regular season because they're not good enough to just have a win in the third quarter and take the fourth quarter off and still win games.
It's one of the things I'm watching for. I think last year's fourth quarter woes were very much the vibes and the mindset that the team once again lost a heartbreaker of the Super Bowl, and they had doubt creep in. And when does doubt creep in? In the fourth quarter of close games. I really think last year they couldn't get out of their way because when the fourth quarter started, if it was a close game, they were sitting there saying, here we go again, rather than here we go again. You know, like it wasn't a here we go excitement. It was a here we go. Oh crap, here it comes.
Well, like I brought up earlier in the show, 23 of the 53 are new this year. So a lot of those guys don't have the scars of the, oh no, here we go again, right? They don't have those wounds, so to speak. So maybe that can help avoid some of that this year. Maybe there'll be a little eagerness, a sort of new feeling in the fourth quarter, but they have to be better in the final frame. And then the last one, treat Jake Moody like Jake Moody. Don't put him in a position to decide games. Don't let games hinge on your least reliable player, right? And I think we all agree. The least reliable player on the 49ers is Jake Moody. Would you agree with that?
I don't know how you could argue against it.
Right. So why would you say that guy's going to be the guy that's going to determine this game? Like, no, if it is 4th and 5 or less, I don't want to see Jake Moody out there, particularly if you're in like 48 to 50, 55 yards away. If it's 4th and 5, why put Jake Moody out there? Go for it. If you want to keep this guy on your team, right? You're convinced that there's something there and you keep him on a team. Okay. But treat him the way what he is. Treat him in the unreliable manner in which he has performed. Don't just default to him and cart him out there like he's a league average NFL kicker, because he's not.
Can I add a caveat to that?
Yes.
Do it early, and if he misses, get the him off the team. That's like, I would rather know after week 1 or week 2 if the guy can't handle the pressure than find out in week 15 when it's too late to go find a replacement.
But I think the best way to do it, honestly, I mean, like if I could script out like an ideal path, first of all, the 49ers go down the field and they score a touchdown, and then Jake Moody goes out on the extra point. Because say what you want about Jake Moody, and there's a lot you can say, he's been really good on extra points. He literally set the record for consecutive extra points made as a rookie. Like, that has not been one area where he has struggled that much. He hasn't been perfect, but no kicker is perfect on extra points. Go down the field, get a touchdown, let Jake Moody come out. First time he's got to come out in a regular season game. It's going to be on the road, crazy environment. Let him kick an extra point, make the extra point, and then maybe he can exhale a little bit. And then maybe you give him sort of a soft landing when it comes to 2025.
If you got to baby him that much, he's not it.
Well, we know he's not it. This is the baby.
I was going to say the ideal thing is have a last second first half field goal where it's like 10-10 or they're down 10-7 to where like it changes the lead, whether it makes it a tie or the Niners take the lead with the field goal. So there's pressure behind it, and it's literally as the clock expires in the first half. See if he can handle that. You know what I mean? Because then they still have the second half to make up for it if he misses. It's not, oh, we need him to make this dang field goal to win the game, and if he misses, the Niners lose. It's, all right, here's the pressure situation with no extra time, no extra attempts. Can you make it?
Modelo Time says he may win it in week 1, then lose it in week 2. He's not consistent enough. That is true.
As you said, 6 for 6 in week 1 last year.
And 8 for 8 on total kick. He made 8 kicks in a game. That's insane. But it's crazy that we have to like go through these scenarios about babying your kick. It should never. It just proves how ridiculous the whole situation is. But Moody has to be better. They have to don't put him in a position where he's got to kick a million field goals. That is not the right way to operate your team this year. They're not good enough to survive a bunch of missed field goals and giving the other team good field position as a result of those missed field goals. I hope that Kyle doesn't. I'm pretty sure he's gonna though.
I don't think you truly have that choice. It's nice and neat to say go for it if it's 5 yards or less every time because you're a kicker. But if you're in that mode, why is the kicker on the roster? If you're gonna have a kicker on the roster, you give him the opportunities, and if he misses a single kick, you get rid of him. Unless he's sitting at like 12 for 12 on. I'll say this: if he makes his first 9 kicks and he misses one, it's not cut him. But if he misses any of the first 9, where his percentage is in the 80s at best, he's gone.
I mean, look, all I can do is adapt to the situation that Kyle Shanahan has put me in, okay? If it was my choice, he wouldn't be on the team. But even if they had a different kicker, I still would want them to go for it on 4th and 5 or less every single time.
Once you hear that, Kyle? You see what you're putting us through? How dare you?
Once you cross the 50, man, you should never punt. Never. Even once you get to your own like 45, unless it's like 4th and a mile, then okay, punt. But other than that, like, I really think most of these teams are doing it wrong. The special teams in general, it's got to be. I mean, if they give up like a stupid fake punt like they did to Seattle previously, or if they give up a long return, like I'm just going to rip my TV off the wall because it's going to be just a sign that nothing has changed despite all of the special teams turnover that we have had in the staff and with the players this year. It better look different on Sunday.
Speaking of looking different, I have somebody commenting on my shirt. Sourdough Sam wants to know, is my shirt salmon? I don't think it would technically be salmon. It is a Lionel Messi Miami FC jersey. For the record, it is pink and more of like a hot pink, but it does come through Sam. I know that is super important, and this is definitely a fashion show.
Sometimes I feel like you just wait for me to stop talking so you can say whatever you want to say, regardless of what
I am interacting with our fans in the chat. Huh? Do that some more, and maybe we would get to 55,000 subscribers, huh?
Hey, we just got to 52,000. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. If you have, thank you. Tell a friend, make them subscribe to the channel.
You know what milestone we're coming up on?
What are we coming up?
I noticed today We are about 200,000 views away from 10 million.
Are we really? That's amazing. 10
Yeah, it was 9,780, and I think they're usually like a day or two behind.
Wow. Well, thank you, everybody. That is unbelievable.
That's how many times somebody has seen that little spiky hair of yours.
Well, to be honest, the hair's been changing throughout the seasons. So the hairline's been changing, but that is crazy. Thank you, everybody. That's a humbling number. I really do appreciate that. I just did this week the 600th 49ers in 5, and honestly, that's only since the Gold Standard Network started. I did about 400 of them when I was with Niners Nation, so we're probably over 1,000, but we just hit the 600 mark for a Gold Standard podcast. So thank you, everybody, again. It is a labor of love, but I'm happy to do it. But I appreciate the support and literally couldn't do it without everybody watching and listening. Couldn't do it without you, Levin. So thank you.
You're very welcome. That means what? What is that? 3,000 minutes worth of 49ers in 5?
Injury reports and Kyle Shanahan press conference clips and a lot of injury reports. Let's be honest. But
that's what, 50 hours? Yeah, that's 50 hours of 49ers in 5 minutes at a time to 50 hours. That's a lot.
And we'll be here for many, many more. So don't worry about that.
Troy Clarity will watch them all.
He will. And by the way, let me just say, I don't know if people have noticed, but I noticed this, and I have a friend that literally will text me anytime he sees it. The 49ers in 5 model has been copied a lot by a lot of teams across a lot of different sports. And I'm not saying they got it from me, but I will say I didn't see a lot of that stuff out there until I started doing it.
Just kind of like our instant reaction going as a true instant reaction.
Yeah, a lot of people doing instant reactions nowadays too.
A lot of people trying to beat us on the jump. I mean, there were games last season where it was like 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. It's like, what are these people doing live?
How can you react to something that hasn't happened yet? Hey, you know what? What do they say? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. We don't do everything right by any stretch of the imagination, but I've said privately to people, and I'll say it publicly, I think our instant reaction show is the best. I don't think anybody in the world does a better, as soon as the game ends, to get the reaction, nobody does it better than we do.
And that is like 50.1% because of me and 49.9%.
All right. We reached the end of the show. Thank you, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Tomorrow on the channel with Johnny Dell, we are doing a full Brock Purdy versus Mike McDonald film breakdown. That Thursday is our film show. We're going to get into the good, bad, and ugly from Brock against Mike McDonald. We'll see some of the Seahawks matchups last year. I don't know for sure if he'll go back to that horrific Christmas Day game against the Ravens. I kind of hope not, but that'll be the breakdown.
I just remember before we go, did you see it was an Athletic article where they pulled 8 different defensive coaches and they had them rank like offensive things in the league. Did you see the ranking for play callers? And they're talking offensive play callers based on 8 defensive coaches in the NFL.
Yes, I may have seen it.
Yeah. And Kyle Shanahan was number 1.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting that he was number 1. Like, yeah, I expected top 3, but number 1, I was a little surprised by.
I think what we have said is he has the respect of peers. Like we can say what we want about Kyle. Everybody's got their opinion. Some people think he's been figured out, which I think is nuts. But when you talk about the people that have to face him, they consistently have told you he's the best. He's up there ahead of Ben Johnson, ahead of Andy Reid, ahead of Sean McVay. Now, doesn't mean he's a better head coach than all those guys. In fact, I think Sean McVay is a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan is a head coach. Andy Reid certainly is a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan. But as a play caller, Kyle is still the most respected guy by his peers.
Yeah, one, Andy Reid was, I think, 7th on that list.
Yeah, he was a little low.
But I think it's a little inflated because what Kyle does is he forces a defense to change their game plan. They got to change everything when you face the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, because if you don't, he is going to destroy you because he knows what you're going to do. And if you don't change it, he's going to destroy you. And I don't think anybody else is quite as obsessive about doing that. Like a lot of other teams are, and I think McVay definitely is different from Kyle in this, that he says, what did we do well? And what did they do bad? How can we attack it? Whereas Kyle is just like, I don't care what we do well. I'm going to look at what the defense does and change my stuff to try to destroy that.
I agree. I think that Kyle doesn't try to disrupt your defense. He wants you to play your defense perfectly because he knows exactly how to hurt it when you do that. And that's why he's, I think, so good. Bo Adams asks, what time is the film breakdown? 10 a.m. Pacific time is the film breakdown with Johnny Dale. In case you want to join us live, of course, it'll be up as a podcast and the YouTube video will live forever. So you don't have to catch it.
That is 1 p.m. in the best time zone, by the way.
The Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
Thank you. They say mountain time is the best time for sports, but
it actually is. I lived in mountain time for 4 years. By far the best for sports.
There you
You
go.
get to bed not too late, and you don't have to get up too early.
By the way, in that Athletic article, they did say that the sort of Achilles heel for Kyle Shanahan is that you can manipulate his protection rules. So it'll be interesting to see if he has any counters to that, or if he just says, bleep it, I don't need to. We were 4th in yards last year. I don't need to change anything. I don't know. But
I'll predict that one. He'll go with the latter one.
But the fact that, I mean, the defensive coaches, think about it, right? If Kyle Shanahan is such a respected play caller, which clearly he is according to their own accounts, but they're also not afraid to say, yeah, you can manipulate his protections. Like, they're not worried about him changing it because they said it on the record.
It's Kyle's arrogance. It's no different than like the Purdy injury with his elbow. He just says if they execute, it wouldn't matter. And that's how he treats protections. Yeah, his protections don't really change. And it's easy for defenses. And you've heard a lot of defensive players talk about it. And some of the defensive coaches talk about the 49ers protections and how easy they are. It's Kyle says, yeah, but if they execute, it wouldn't matter.
Maybe, just maybe, we'll see not a change in the protection rules, but maybe some different answers from Brock Purdy. JT O'Sullivan has talked a lot about that. It's like, yeah, Kyle has an answer built into this offense. Here it is. Problem is, it's very difficult for a quarterback to execute that, and it doesn't necessarily need to be that difficult, particularly usually when the defense sends a blitz. Kyle's hot route for that blitz is away on the opposite side of the blitz, which is hard for a quarterback because he's got to get the ball, see if the guy's open, throw it, and also feel, and a lot of times, the unblocked rusher coming in. And he's got to know to get the ball off before that guy arrives. Whereas in most systems, when somebody blitzes, you are throwing to replace the blitz. So the guy is coming in and you are throwing to a receiver that is in the area that the blitzer vacated, which is easier for a quarterback because while they're looking for the receiver, the rusher is coming right at them. So they don't have to just sort of feel the pressure. They can see it right in front of them. So it just makes it easier. I don't know that Kyle will change anything, but he may make that change, which could just make Brock's life a little easier.
That's enough Niners talk. This is not a Niners show, okay? How many times do I have to bring up a non-Niners topic?